right, we have a new featured location coming to the game called ORCHIS Forge. This will go live tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific time. It'll run for 48 hours, and it'll appear 40% more of the time. After you play a card here, add Sentinel to your hand. Now, we're going to talk about this location, some cards that work well with it. We're also going to talk about Nimrod and my experience with playing Nimrod so far in this game. We're also going to talk a little bit about move decks, and then there's a drastic change to Kitty Pride. Before we talk about the featured location, I want to give my thoughts. I think that featured locations are the best days to climb, and that players that are willing to adapt to them do put themselves at advantage. Some locations are more obtrusive than others. Some are very annoying, and some of them are a little bit more subtle. This one lends itself on the subtle side, so you really don't have to go hardcore on a build if you don't want to. Now, the problem with this location is that probably the deck that is going to get the most benefit from this location is already the best deck in the game, and we're going to get to that. After you play a card here, add a Sentinel to your hand. I think that naturally leads to Devil Dinos. Devil Dinos is one of the best cards in the game, and also it is a much better card than Ronin. I don't think Ronin can keep up with Devil Dino, largely because it's a lot easier to control your hand size rather than your opponent hand size. Now, I'm hoping that someday Ronin will have his day, but I don't think that will happen with this featured location. I just wanted to acknowledge that Ronin does have some synergy with this location, but really the best choice is going to be Devil Dinosaur. The other card that synergizes well, not only with this location, but also a lot of decks that run Devil Dinosaur also run Quinjet. Cards that didn't start in your deck cost one less, so that will work with this location. And then to a lesser extent, when a card enters your hand from anywhere except your deck, get +1 power. So I've got 4 decks that I think are going to work well with this location. Of course, I think the idea is to use a deck that works with and without the location, because if the location does not show up, you don't want to have a highly customized deck that doesn't work. So all of these decks that I'm going to show here work without the location, and then they will get some additional benefit from the location, specifically with Quinjet and Devil Dino. So this right here is a build that does not have any Series 4 or Series 5 cards. This is a pool 3 build. Now, there's a couple cards you can't really change on this. The Devil Dino, She-Hulk, Arrow are just kind of required cards. One of the cards I think you could swap out easily would be Cloak. If you wanted to use Lizard, I think that would substitute in just fine. So this is a perfectly good build, and it is not Series 4 or Series 5. Next one right here does have a single, I guess it's Series 5 card, but this is a Battle Pass card. So I imagine a lot of people watching have Zabu. And so this will give you another option. This is basically a Zabu Dino build. Again, the idea of this deck is to keep your hand full so that you have a very large Devil Dinosaur, maybe even copying it on turn 4 with Moon Girl so that you can drop a Devil Dino not only on turn 5, but also on turn 6. Quinjet also synergizes well with Moon Girl. And the idea here is that you play Zabu on turn 2. And then a lot of these cards here, Enchantress, Jessica Jones, Moon Girl, Shang-Chi, White Queen are all 4 costs. So they will get, you can play them out on turn 3, which is a good thing. Now, next one right here is probably the best deck in the game. And I'm actually kind of annoyed / worried about this deck. And the location does favor this deck, but this is basically a Thanos Lockjaw deck. And I think there is a ton of controversy about Leech, and I will be making a dedicated video about the Leech problem, my experience with Leech, and maybe some proposed changes to Leech, because I think Leech is a frustrating card right now, and it merits discussion. I'm not really sure that they should just nerf cards all the time or anything like that, but I do think Leech is a hot topic right now, probably the most hated card in the game. And so here is probably going to be the best deck. Of course, it has Thanos. So if you're considering any of the three big bads, which are Thanos, Galactus, or King, I personally recommend Thanos the most of the three. And then lastly, we've got another deck right here that is somewhat specialized. So if you do have Darkhawk, I think that Devil Dino Darkhawk Zabu build, which also takes advantage of Mystique to copy not only the Darkhawk or the Devil Dino, and then you've got Moon Girl to have double cards. I think this will be a fun deck. I just don't think a lot of people have Darkhawk, so I mentioned it last. Now, I want to talk about Nimrod. A lot of people are not happy with Nimrod. A lot of people are really unhappy with Leech. I just want to say my experience with Nimrod is there are a lot of counters to Nimrod. Armor counters the deck. Cosmo counters the deck. Arrow counters every deck. Leech counters a lot of decks, right? So there is this uphill battle with Nimrod, but I do want to suggest that Nimrod is an effective card. Right here we have data which is only 12 hours old or so, so it's not really, a super high sample size. But this first column right here is the statistics for Nimrod when he is in a deck, when he is drawn in a deck, and then when he's actually played. So being included in the deck, 55 win percent is fine. 0.6% cubes is fine. Actually, it's above average. All of these cards here shown here are above average. When drawn, similar results. And then actually when played, quite exceptional results. So for me, this is a good Battle Pass card. I think that Battle Pass cards need to be interesting and fun, playable, maybe enhance an archetype. And I feel like Nimrod does all of those things. Also susceptible to a lot of counterplay, but I'm also happy that Nimrod is not like Silver Surfer or Zabu, where they were oppressive. Leech, since we're talking about Leech, just so you must know, the bottom row right here is the bottom row. You can see that Leech has better numbers than Nimrod. Now, I want to share 3 deck builds that I'm interested in. 2 of them I've played a little bit already, and I had good results. The first one right here does not have any series 4 or 5 cards, and there's some interesting combos for sure if you can get Nimrod out on turn 5 and then still possess the destroy cards, Venom, Carnage, or Lockjaw. Actually, some fun combos can go off when you play 2 of those cards on the last turn. This has Arnim Zola. And the only issue that I have with Nimrod and Arnim Zola is that Black Panther is just better with Arnim Zola than Nimrod. Another build, I played this quite a bit. If you don't have Shuri, you can actually substitute Shuri for Psylocke. I think there's another version of this deck right here that runs Psylocke. I had good results. I didn't play this a ton. The idea, though, was to get out Nimrod early with Wave and then blow up Nimrod as much as possible using Destroyer. You could also ramp up energy with Electro. So this is kind of like a Nimrod ramp deck. Had good results, not a very large sample size. I had a lot of fun playing it. But the best deck that I played is kind of a pay-to-win deck. And I climbed quite a bit. I think I climbed from 73 to 77, somewhere in that range, and I had very good results. And it's a pay-to-win deck. It has Galactus and King, and this is a turn 6 Galactus deck. If I'm being honest, Nimrod complements this deck, but there were so many other ways to win. Shuri into a very large hobgoblin, into Galactus. Destroyer does funny things with the rest of the cards. And I thought that this was a very smart build. Before we go any further, just wanted to say I kind of agree with this. Look what they need just to mimic a fraction of our power. You know, we got Shuri and Destroyer and Nimrod. But it's probably just easier to play like Shuri, Taskmaster, Red Skull. I think that's still a lot better, of course. Also, Kitty Pryde is not going to be a 1 cost 2 power card. She's going to be a 1/0. A lot of my interest is been wiped because of that. There was some questions about how the card was going to work. I thought there were some really cool synergies with Angela and Bishop. Once she's on the board, she can be returned to your hand, let's say on turn 2, and replayed, and then she gets 2 power. But I don't know anymore. I was like the most excited about this card and maybe hoping that she'd be like a Sunspot alternative or fill a similar role to that of Sunspot, you know, being a good amount of stats. I also really like the flexibility that she could be moved into different locations. Also, the developers were asked about how they felt about cards that were nerfed, cards that have not been used much since the nerf, like Angela, Mysterio, Destroyer, Silver Surfer. Any thoughts of a rollback? And the developer actually just says no. We, especially I, monitor all the cards for balance improvements, agnostic of whether they've been previously adjusted. The specific cards you listed are actually doing fine, though I am looking forward to continuing to iterate on our approach to balance in the coming months. All right. A lot of people are upset about Leech, and I'm going to make an entire video dedicated to Leech probably tomorrow because I think it's a hot topic. Also, a lot of people are saying that they are ranked 33 and they're facing former infinite players and they're getting, you know, that's the infinite border. And a lot of people are saying the first couple matches they played were Thanos decks or Shuri Red Skull decks. And one person suggested to me that they were just going to sit back for a couple days and collect their dailies and come back to the game when all these people have moved up and they're out of the way. Actually, I think that's a pretty practical approach. And then I have 2 experiences with move decks that I wanted to share with you. And I just thought these 2 memes were here pretty funny, but I didn't want to talk about Leech, but I was playing a move deck for 2 days last month, and they're very complicated. But the move deck that I played had Leech, and I ended up renaming the deck Leech deck with move cards because Leech was a large percentage of my wins. Now, move decks are very powerful, and I hope they see their day because they are fun to play, they are complicated, and they can push up really high numbers. But it gets complicated. You play Kang to spy on your opponent's turn 6. I play Kang, so I have double the time to calculate what happens after Heimdall. We are not the same. And I thought this meme here, and if you've played move decks, you know about this. Turn 1, Iron Fist. Turn 2, use Craven. But it's too early to use Cloak. You have to save Cloak. At turn 3, do one of these 3 cards, you know, Vulture, Storm, or Doctor Strange. Is it turn 6? No, go back and do that. Yes. Did I do the math? No, just do it anyways. Heimdall. And then if you victory, and if you got defeat, did I learn anything? Seriously? Oh my God, the math on a Heimdall decks. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Also, if you have any thoughts about Leech, put in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you think about Leech before I make the Leech video. Bye for now.